This is Zach with mycodeteacher.com, and this is lesson number 7 of 10 for the iPad video lesson series in building a soundboard application. This tutorial is going to focus on the ability to move the icons that are added to our slots, and when we move them, we'll be able to drag them over a soundboard and activate sound according to the icon that is moved over into the soundboard. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we had last tutorial so we can give you a visualization on what we're going to do. So clearly we need to focus on eventually in another tutorial getting our slots in our soundboard to adjust when the iPad is in a vertical position. But when it's horizontal, it seems to be doing pretty well right now, which is the way that we've programmed it. So when we select a certain icon, it animates and goes into a slot. But now once it's in this slot, we need to be able to drag the icon and put it over here into the soundboard to be able to play sound. So this tutorial is strictly going to focus on just moving the icons, which is actually pretty simple and pretty easy. But before we do that, let's go ahead and adjust our label so we can actually read what the title is. Now, I believe last tutorial I had mentioned that we should go ahead and do that. So if you didn't do it, now's your chance. If you did do it, then you can just skip ahead, because we're going to go ahead and fix this right now so that nobody comes back and says, hey, what'd you do? You know, I don't understand. So you can see that these labels are just a little bit smaller than they should be, and so we're going to drag them right back, make them a little bit bigger, and drag them here into the center. So you can see it's a little tedious of a process, but it ends up making the application look a lot nicer because you don't have the cutoffs in your titles. So again, one thing that's really nice about the SDK, or the interface builder, is it'll tell you when you're centered directly in with another object that might be nearby. So you can see when I move it, it shows that I'm centered with all the other labels, and then eventually a line's going to pop up here, and there we go, I'm centered with that. So let's make this larger, bring it over here to the center, there we go. Let's make this larger, bring it over here to the center, we got 3 more to go. Okay, let's bring this, and we got 1 more. So let's go ahead and save that, and we'll recompile. And let's go ahead and click the ocean. By the way, on the simulator, I'm sure you've noticed by now, when you click the first icon, doesn't matter which one it is, it takes a little while to load up. On the device, it's not the case; it goes instantly. So I'm not sure, what takes it so long, but that is the case. So we can see that most of our titles now go ahead and fit. And so again, if it's too big of a title, it will cut off, which is what we need to do. But for the most part, you can now read each and every individual title. So now we get to the ability to be able to drag the icons. Now this is it's a pretty easy piece of coding. So this tutorial will likely only be rated 1 out of 10 difficulty level on the website. But there is a couple little tricky things that we need to look at when we move the icon. For example, when we move an icon, what happens if we move over another icon? Then our finger is going to start dragging both of those icons, so that's not what we want. So we need to set flags in place to let us know if we're moving an icon and which icon we're moving, so that we're able to move the icon anywhere we want in the screen without any interferences from other icons. So let's go to our detailed view controller, and let's look for touches changed. Of course, that won't be in there because we haven't programmed it yet. So basically, we're going to create a method, and it's going to be called touchesMoved. So if we go void touchesMoved, ns_set touches with event UI event, and basically what this is going to do is anytime there is a touch on the screen and it's dragged with your finger, it's going to call this function. And it doesn't matter what it is, that's what's going to happen. It's very likely that if I put an NSLog right here, I'll save it and we'll go ahead and compile here. Go ahead and clear out the output here. Okay, so you can see here now. See how it calls that method every single time now? But now what we need to do, see it stopped and I moved. Now what we need to do is, if I'm touching the screen and I'm moving or I'm dragging my finger and my finger is intersecting an icon, then we need to drag that icon around. And so we can do that. We can get the point of our finger by basically saying UI touch. We're going to call this touch, and we'll go ahead and say touches any object. Okay, and so the NSSet here, the touches, is basically what exactly is being touched. In this case, it's going to be our finger, and so that's going to be placed to or assigned to the pointer touch that we have. It'll let us know the object, and we'll be able to go from there. So what we need to do is we need to say if cgrect contains point, then we're going to say my button1, and then frame touch location in view self.view, then my button1 dot center equals, we're going to make a point, cg point make touch location in view self dot view dot x comma touch location in view self dot view dot y. Okay. And we put an extra F in there on accident. Make sure it's cgrect contains point. Okay, and so what we've done now is there's a function called cgrect contains point. And so we insert what it is that we're looking to look for a touch in, and then what it is that needs to touch it. So we've got that variable touch, and then it's saying location in view, this view. So if we're touching in this view, and we're touching the button1 frame, then we're going to take that button, we're going to move its center to a new point that we're making, which is our touched center, the center of the X and the center of the Y. So wherever our finger's touching, it's going to put that center to the center of our icon to the center of our finger. And so this is actually not completely done yet, but it should work here in the simulator, and we'll show you why it's not done. It's done if we only had this one item, but we have 12 items to do, and so that's going to interfere with the other 12 items eventually. So again, we'll select the ocean, it'll pop up here, and now you can see my mouse moves it around with no problems. And now it gets a little jumpy when you're on the simulator because sometimes you can move the mouse quicker than than your finger, but if you do it on the iPad, it actually goes very, very smoothly. And so you can see it's pretty nice. Okay? And so now what we need to do is we'll go ahead and quit this. we need to make a variable to let us know that there is another icon being used when we're moving it around, and that when it's being used, we need to say that this sound is being used right now. And so let's go ahead and if we go to our .h, we're going to go ahead and put some booleans in here so that we know which sound is being used. And so I'm going to go ahead and copy what I have over here in my project source code that I'm referencing, and we're going to go ahead and put it right in here, and go ahead and type all this down so that you have it. So basically we've got sound 1 playing, sound 2 playing, sound 3 playing, all the way through sound 12 playing. And then we've got moving sound 1, moving sound 2, moving sound 3, moving sound 4. And so eventually we're going to go ahead and we're going to need these in a later tutorial, so we'll just go ahead and type that out of the way for now. But then we're going to need this today. And so let's go ahead and get started with that. And so make sure that you have that in there. And we'll go to our .m. And now what we need to say is when the touch is moved, we need to say, add this on to the end here, and other in use is equal to no, or moving sound 1 is equal to yes. So what we're saying is our points need to touch, our finger needs to touch that icon, and nothing else can be in use if we're going to start moving this icon. Or if something is in use, it better be this sound that's in use. So basically, it only allows us, because if we didn't put the or moving sound 1 equals yes, then when we set a flag other in use equals no or equals yes when we're in our conditional statement, then it would stop us from even moving our own icon. And you'll see that here in a second, because I'll take out the moving sound 1 equals yes, and you'll see that it doesn't work. So the first thing we need to do when we start moving an icon, we need to say that there's something else in use. And then we need to say which one is in use. Moving sound 1 equals yes. Okay. And then finally what we need to do is when our touches end, let's go ahead and I'm copying this here and I'm pasting it. Touches ended, ns set touches with event, UI event. So it's basically when our touches moved, everything in here happens. When our touches end, everything in here happens. And so when our touches end, we want to say that there's nothing else in use anymore and there's no sounds that are moving because we're not touching anything. So you're not going to see a difference on the main screen right now until we put something else in place. So let's go ahead and copy this. Let's paste it. We'll say my button 2, moving sound 2, moving sound 2, my button 2. So if we save that, then we should be able to compile here and move 2 icons now. Okay, so let's rotate this. We've got 4 sounds in there, so I'm moving this, and I'm moving this. Now see how I can go over it with no issues? Now if I want, I can select this guy, move it over. Okay, so you can see that we can move multiple icons now. So I'll go ahead and quit this right here. But now, watch what would happen if I took this out. You'll see that it's not going to move at all, because as soon as it realizes that there's something else in use, it's going to stop, because other in use has to be no, but we set it to yes as soon as we touch it. So let's drag this in here, and now see, it cuts out and I can't move it. I can move it one little bit, and so that's quite frustrating. Okay, So now let's quit this and let's take that out and let's see what would happen if other in use was not equal to no. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple icons in here, 6 to be exact. Okay, so I'm going to move, and you see that nothing happens. And that's because moving sound 1 is never equal to yes. And so what I really want to show you now is the last thing. We'll go ahead and take that out. Let it load up here. Load up 6 icons. And so what happens if I drag over this icon? It gets stuck together. And so that's why we have to have that important code that handles the icons moving, because if it's moving, we don't want it to be existent. But if we don't put which sound is moving at the certain time, then it can't give clearance to the one sound that's already moving. So those are very important to have. Now, we need to put the code in for all 12. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy this in for the sake of saving time. 3 through 12. So you can see it's the exact same code, except it says my button 3, moving sound 3, my button 3.center, moving sound 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way through 12. So we would have been here for probably another 15 minutes typing that up. So let's go ahead and compile, and we'll see now that we can move every single icon. Okay. So we can now move it all. And see, none of it gets affected. So in the next tutorial, we're going to be getting the soundboard to work and then taking care of the animation. So when it's brought out of this box here, it's going to snap back in to the original spot that it belonged in. And so you can see all these icons move with no problems. And it's actually a pretty nifty little feature. And so that's going to conclude this tutorial. It was a basic tutorial, but the next part of the tutorial is going to take up quite a bit of time, so I needed to split them up into 2 different videos and you know, make sure that you don't get too bored sitting here. And so we'll go ahead and cut this tutorial off here, and we'll see you in the next one.